Hello, welcome to Kate's Lab. Today we're going to be dissecting two species of blog. Now, before we take a closer look at those, let me put on my lab coat so the blogs don't spray liquid on me. Got my protective goggles. My sanitary latex gloves. Okay, so we're going to be talking about these two species. Here we have a blog from the Polaris Project, which is a nonprofit that does work on human trafficking. And this species of blog is one that is focusing on news. More specifically news that showcases the impacts of Polaris Project. So this is an option for your blogs. You could try to A, highlight news relevant to your organization, or B, highlight something that your organization has had an impact on. Okay, so that's one species that we're going to be talking about. And then the second species of blog is one produced by PETA, the animal rights organization, but they've chosen this particular blog is more lighthearted. It's kind of a jokey blog about animals, April Fool's animals, and it's chosen the list format. So we'll dissect that one next. Okay, let me get my tools and we'll be ready to go. All right, let's get to dissecting this news blog on progress on criminal record relief for trafficking survivors. Okay, so let's start by just taking out this headline. Okay. So they have opted for an informative headline, less clickbaity, but the thing to pay attention to here is that it's keyword searchable. So if someone were to search in Google criminal record relief, this would probably come up. That's important with blog headlines, is that they use words that are going to come up in Google searches. They want their blogs to be found. Oh, this one's tough. Little sloppy dissection here. Here we have a hyperlink. Hyperlinks are great in blogs because this one, for example, leads you to another page of the Polaris Project's webpage. I mean, it's just like giving them more views, you know what I mean? But you can also have hyperlinks, as they do down here, to outside content. Blogs are a digital form, so you need to make use of the advantages of that by things like hyperlinks. I would like to draw your attention to the use of bolding. Okay, so blogs are meant to be skimmed. They're intended for bad readers. So consequently, if there is something that you want to highlight or you want to make sure that your readers read, using bolding is a great technique. You can offer further explanation in non-bolded lettering, but this will help sort of draw the reader's eye to that first sentence. It also can create a kind of organizational fluidity. It's easier to look at if text is broken up with occasional bolding instead of just one huge block of writing. So the bolding creates sort of like headers or titles. If you're writing a news-oriented blog, a good way to approach your conclusion is to look toward the future. So in this case, they're talking about next steps as far as criminal record relief, further future legislation that might affect this, other organizations and groups as well as Polaris Project that are working on providing criminal record relief for victims of human trafficking, survivors of human trafficking. And so this allows your reader to sort of look forward and also think, okay, maybe we'll get updates on this blog later about this in the future. So forward thinking is a good approach to a conclusion in a blog like this. I would also just like to highlight, before we move on to our next specimen, how at the very beginning, the blog begins, in the months since Polaris released report cards that analyzed and ranked state laws offering criminal records relief, etc. Okay, so this first line is highlighting what Polaris, the nonprofit organization, did that helped further along this progress in criminal record relief. So they're really highlighting how they themselves had an impact, which might be something that you want to do in your blog. Okay, time for the next one. Our second specimen, the lighthearted list. Okay. 9 animals who are better at April Fool's Day than you. You may recognize this sort of format of title from BuzzFeed and the like. It's very common. This is what we would call a clickbaity title. It makes you curious about what animals these are. It's kind of funny. It's a list. You think, oh, is this going to be easy reading? This is something they clearly want people. This is not just for like PETA's greatest fans. They want people to click on this who maybe don't even know about PETA, and it brings other people, new people, to their website. So that's what they're going. The list blog is very popular, and it follows a different sort of structure. So usually it has a sort of short, brief, oftentimes kind of clever introduction to the list, a preface of the thing that's going to come. You actually have to explain what's coming in the list. First of all, when you think of a list, a grocery list, you just have items, right? Milk, peanuts, or whatever. This is more than just one word. It actually is complete sentences, several of them. So when we're talking about lists on blogs, it's really like the items in the lists are little paragraphs. And that is a good way to think of them. Don't think of them as actually just items, but actually like miniature paragraphs. Probably the most important thing about the list items in a blog is that they are parallel. And by that I mean, okay, if you start your item list number 1 with an ing verb, then you should start all of the list items with an ing verb. If you start like this person does, every single list item with a complete sentence, then every single list item should start with a complete sentence. They need to be parallel grammatically. Another thing that this blog does, like the last, is include pictures. But this is writing for nonprofits, so that's not the focus. Yes. See this person's conclusion? Is quite short. It just says, Happy April Fool's Day from animals who are clearly nobody's fools. Yes, clever, funny, ha 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 ha. But the thing to pay attention to here is that it's occasional. So as you read about on Monday, blogs are helpful because they're timely, right? You update them quickly. You can publish them right after a piece of news comes out, or in this case, you have a special blog just for April Fool's Day. So that's something that can help provide inspiration for a blog, is you can say, okay, April Fool's Day is coming up. How on earth does April Fool's Day relate to PETA? Okay, tricky animals, great. Here's a blog post for us. So you can always pay attention to the possibility of occasional blog posts. All right. That's all we got for today.
There ain't no reason you and me should be alone.